Okay, so here's an EL-370. This was, again, sort of this odd. What these were is, well, let's open this up. How about that? Let's start there. This one is obviously it's a little beaten up. This is what these 70s watches tended to end up looking like because they were never taken care of, or often were not taken care of, and beaten up. And gold plating doesn't last very long, and it's one of those things that it was an expensive watch in its time, but it was not. They didn't last very well. And this one, like many of them, had a careless owner who beat it to death. Let me try to get this open with the proper case back tool. Hang on just one second. Go over here. There we go. That's the one we need. Instead of worrying about this fiddly one. Ooh, boy. When you're serious about wrist cheese, wow. Look at the stuff coming off. This is what I get to deal with. Untouched original watch from the 70s. This is what they call DNA. Okay. Probably should be wearing a hazmat suit or something. Wow. Okay, so that's a lockdown ring. There's that. Wow. Yikes. Yikes. Anyways, so rather than being a quartz movement, like pure quartz, where you have a stepper motor that is actuated once per second, and there you go, this is this weird hybrid half step between being quartz and being electronic. So it has a train, as we see, it has a jewel train. It has a magnetic, basically, actuator, and there's a magnetic lobe on the balance, but it actually has a literal no foolin' balance. You can actually see it there. There's the balance doing that kind of stuff. And so in a normal watch, you have a mainspring, and the mainspring in the barrel pushes the train around, and then you have a pallet fork, and the pallet fork flicks back and forth, and the balance then regulates the whole thing, and that's the way that it works. This is more akin to, honestly, to sort of a spring drive in a way, because this is kind of like what a spring drive is in terms of its approach to timekeeping, in that you have a mechanical component and you have an electrical component. Spring drive is different, obviously, different tech, because the balance there freely rotates, and rather than having an impeller like this kind of thing sitting up, but it does have circuitry with and magnetic braking that regulates the speed of the spinning. That's how you get the utterly smooth sweep seconds hand as this goes. Let's see, this old dead battery. Did this thing leak? Let's see. Oh, wow. Did not leak. That's amazing. Well, let's see. Let me go dig up a battery for fun. Okay, so hang on. Okay, this isn't correct. This isn't the correct battery size. It's too thin. But we'll just see what happens. It's interesting because apparently I have never opened this watch before. So what I'm going to have to do is we'll put that in there. And then we are going to have to go like this and let us see if we get anything, any movement out of it. Nothing. Doesn't look like we're getting a whole lot of anything out of it. Whoop! It wants to move, doesn't it? There she blows. Wow, so that one is alive. Pretty amazing. I mean, obviously it needs to be cleaned. And there she blows. Look at that. God, you gotta love vintage Seiko. Look at how abused this watch was. And there she goes. You can see the balance going, and there's the hairspring under there, and all that stuff. It's clearly it's alive. So I could, in theory, service this and it'd be a runner. Isn't that crazy? I think these were pretty expensive in their day. Isn't that amazing? There she blows. Look at that go. Huh, too bad the case is so beaten up on this thing. I'd resurrect it and get it going just for fun. God, you gotta love Seiko. This era, they were so nice. Look at how dirty this thing is, and it still runs. That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, well, I'm not going to torture this movement anymore, but maybe I'll service that just for fun. We'll see. Okay, so that's what's up with these. I just noticed something. I was just looking at this. I blew it up. I blew this off a little bit, and I was looking at this. If anybody doubts that these things are high end, 16 joules. 16 joules. This thing has 16 joules in it. That's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. 16 joules. Wonder if I could fit this movement into something else. Wouldn't that be interesting, huh? I wonder if we could put this movement into another watch. Something that's prettier than this. Amazing. Gotta love Seiko. Okay. I just wanted to take a break. Sorry, I keep doing this to you. So I pulled this is one of the things I notice. So these cases, they don't age very well. And they sort of look kind of ratty pretty soon. And one of the side effects of that is that often the insides of gold-plated watches are actually really nice. Like I find that gold-plated 6139s and 6138s typically have beautiful movements because they're not worn as long. But look at this. Look at what Seiko did. Look at the beautiful printing on the dial. Look at the quality and the condition of it. It's really nice. And this is a Sua movement. It's a Sua watch. And it has a crown at 4. I thought for a second, I was like, well, gosh, maybe I can drop this thing into a diver case or something. But I think it's far too thick to go into anything. It's too bad, but it really is. That is kind of amazing. Isn't that amazing? That's amazing. Okay, I'll stop talking about this now. Okay, so forgive me. I was looking at the case and thinking about EL-370s, and my brain tickled me, and I'm like, I think I have a stainless EL-370 case somewhere. I think I do. So I pulled up my big box of cases, watch cases, and I found this. I remember I got this in a watch lot from a watchmaker's estate. So it's just the stainless part and the original bracelet, EL-370. I can use this case back and this baby, and I can actually put this watch movement into that case. I don't know. Be a weird hybrid. I could do it. It'd be interesting. Hang on. Let me pull the stem. Let's put it together and see if people think that would be worth the effort. Especially considering this was such a nice watch. Boy, that's super 70s though, isn't it? Crazy 70s. Wouldn't that be nuts? I don't know, folks. What do you think? Should I make a hybrid watch? I don't know. Could be good. Clean this up and see how it does. You know, what the heck. Okay, that's it. I swear to God, that's it. Okay, I know I said I wasn't going to make any more of this stuff, but I kind of blew out the movement a little bit, and I did some other stuff, and then I got it running, and I said, well, it'd be interesting. Let's put it on the timegrapher. Now, this thing obviously doesn't have a pallet fork, but it ticks, actually. It might have a pallet fork, actually, but I don't know what the lift angle is because I haven't pulled out the Seiko service guide for this. But still, even at 52 degrees, that's showing 253 because this watch is unserviced. I haven't done a thing to it. I mean, it's Sua. I mean, a lot of the Sua ones are 54.5. I don't know that this is 54.5. God, if only I had time to service this thing. Wow. All right, well, I wanted to show you this. So, I kind of get caught up in a loop of figuring stuff out here. Let's get these lights on. So I wanted to show you this. I just did a real quick cleanup of the crystal in the case. I mean, literally, I haven't done anything to it. I just put it together and made it prettier. So there it is. EL-370, and this is now a hybrid, but there it is. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, so this was probably pretty expensive in this day. I'm going to have to do some research. Hilarious. Okay, cool. I swear to God, that is the last. It's a nice case, too. Look, it's got some wear to the clasp. That's not bad. Definitely the original bracelet. Nuts. Okay. Maybe I'll set aside some time at one of these evenings and service this thing. Okay. So for those of you who have skipped ahead and didn't want to watch the previous recap of what was going on, I had a question on the Friday video about a fairly unusual Seiko watch model from the early 1970s, and I went and got mine one out that I had that was in my parts drawers, and for fun I started fiddling with it, and I managed to get it running, like the movement was alive. But the case, which is here, was sort of gross and destroyed. So I started thinking then about other possibilities, and I remembered that I might have a stainless case, an empty case. And so I went digging around, and I did in fact find that empty case. And so I sort of polished up the original crystal and tried to make it a little nicer looking and just sort of put it together just for fun to see. And then today's Saturday, I went and in the afternoon we got home from doing errands and some other stuff, and I decided to do some more poking, and I sort of found some great stuff, and so I said, well, I guess it's a sign. So I went ahead yesterday afternoon and well into the evening, about 6 solid hours of work. Never would have thought it would have taken that long, and I got it done. And there it is in all of its glory. Now, one of the things that made that possible was the Seiko service manual, Seiko service guide. There are certain movements I definitely have memorized. I've never rebuilt a 7303 before. So, I'm sorry, 3703. And so we go here to the Seiko servicing guide, because I have several of them and not all of them cover the same models. So this is the thing, man. This is the holy of holies. And the great thing about the Seiko servicing guides is it gives you your mounts, your lubes, and all that other kind of stuff. And it tells you, it gives you structures of how the cases break down and how they're put together. It gives you a real nice breakdown of the movements, the part numbers, how certain things work. Like it's got a pretty funky date corrector setup, which is really interesting. You can see it over here. This is the exploded view. You can see the plate. This is where you do lubrications and which kind of lubrication and how much. And then I looked at this and I'm like, for servicing the EL-370, use a plastic movement holder. Do not use a metal holder. Okay. Don't use one of these is what they're saying, because it'll do some kind of damage to the circuit. This is the compound circuit here. There's the circuit and there's the coil, and they screw together underneath. So we got to be careful about that. And there's the double stacked balance. Here's how all this stuff goes together. Gives you all these hints of how things go. You can see the lubrication for the pallet fork, and it does have a pallet fork. I don't know what I was thinking when I said it didn't. The way these work, the way these machines work, is I thought that this was the case. I didn't say it. They actually run backwards. You have the circuit goes and runs a weak current that the balance goes back and forth on. The balance then drives the balance drives the pallet fork, and the pallet fork drives the escape wheel and powers the entire train that way. So it runs backwards from a normal watch. Pretty neat thing. There's your center wheel bridge. There's your escape wheel. There's a cool little diddly in here where actually there's a couple things. Because it runs backwards, the pallet fork actually has a tiny magnet on it to hold it to one side, so when the wheel comes back, it'll whack it back. That way the pallet fork isn't just wandering around. And then it also has a teeny tiny leaf spring that makes the escape wheel so that it only goes one direction. It's a straight thing. I don't know that it's on here. Let's see if I can find that picture. I don't see it. It's not here. Oh, it's right here. This right here. And this is a little adjuster thing. It's got adjuster and float screws to go back and forth. And this little diddly right there is that little baby right there. It's for the retaining pawl, and it rides on this upper bit right here, which has little teeth, and then make sure the escape wheel only goes one direction, which is, I think, pretty neat. And it shows you here some of the calendar stuff and how these things are lubricated. There's your Diashock and setting lever and all that neat stuff. It's funky. I mean, it's a watch. It's a watch. It's a watch for a given value of watches. So, these guides, by the way, are also great because they have these full color, troubleshooting charts, which is always nice, and they fold out. And it gives you all your current testing and everything else like that. Nice thing about writing is that it makes sure that you don't have to remember everything. Okay, so you remember that plastic holder. It said do not use a metal holder, use a plastic holder. Where is that page? Aha, right there. Right there. Okay, so I started thinking, and I was like, hey, wait a minute. Okay, so hold on. Let's put this back up here. So I started thinking, and because I've spent a long time buying everything I run across, I remembered I had this. Seiko. This is a movement holder for 6138, 6139, and also has a converter for 7018 Daney chronograph. And this is the little plastic holder. And it has some of the special neato things in here. Oh, dear. Special neato things in here. That's the converter to convert the blue holder for a 7018. And this is the battery testing rig for when you have the movement out, so you don't have to worry about making a connection. You screw this thing in place, and there it is. And then we come under here and pull this thing out, and we find the original Seiko paperwork. I love this kind of stuff. So there it is. And it shows you how it works, and there's the thing to make the bridge. Now, if you don't have a bridge, it tells you how to make one, which is pretty cool. And then you can see the illustrations here for how to use the other piece for a 6139 and how that works. That's pretty cool. So that's the S501 tool, and this is this S620 tool, which is pretty cool. So I went and I got this thing all apart, and man, I finished it. But yeah, it was like literally 6 or 7. I started at 3:30 and I finished at about 6 hours of work. Case is all completely clean. All the seals are new. It's got a new old stock crystal in it. The case cleaned up. I found a close enough bracelet to this to donate a few extra links to make it long enough for me to wear. I'm going to dig through my stuff and see if maybe I can find this exact pattern, but I'm not sure if I can. I used the best pieces I could, but it's got all new seals, all new battery hatch seal, new battery, everything else like that. The nice thing also about the servicing guide is it tells us that ideally these things should be amplitude over 200, and this is well over that. It's not the crazy numbers I was seeing before, but I think actually I believe that those numbers might not have been correct. Might have not been hearing correctly, because later on I saw numbers in like the 160s. Last night after servicing, I was seeing in the 212s to 220s, and the servicing guide says you just want it to be over 200 for amplitude. It does not give a lift angle. Oh well, what are you going to do? Anyway, so we've got our handy dandy holder. Now I went and marked which side is which, train and dial. Here is another movement from another EL-370 that I found. Digging through all my stuff, I found another one with a gold case. there, and I've got all that stuff. This movement, it's amazing. This watch actually had, relatively speaking, very little wear. I mean, the case has a little bit of wear to it, but the movement looked new, but it's utterly dead. Won't move at all. And I'd say that the case, I'm sorry, from looking at it closely, it looks like the coil is dead, because I'm getting all kinds of weird cracks and things in there, and I just cannot get it to run. So we've got this on the train side, and you want to have this wide open gap is where the balance goes, so you can see into it sideways, just like this. Now don't be afeared, this is an unserviced movement that is utterly dead. Let me just make sure I get this thing in right. Oh, that's the wrong place. There, just like that. See, and look, and it holds it all nice and firmly. So that's the way these work. There's the circuit, and this had battery acid on it. This one did, all around here. I got some of it off, but it's still dead. And this is the coil, but this, whatever this spacer block stuff is, it's cracking. I cleaned up the connections, but I'm not seeing any life at all for this piece. Nothing. I mean, the balance is good. But that's how it works. The balance drives everything, and it all drives backwards. Pretty cool. Pretty cool technology. Nicely made. And I was able to get this one dialed into basically flat accuracy with 0 beat error. So it's a great runner, which is nice. So it's alive. Not sure what I'm going to do with it. It's a good learning experience to know more about these, to see how they go. I could, I guess, if I wanted. Well, though, no, it's a different case. This has a hooded lugs, and this is exposed lugs. But I could, if I wanted, put this back together and make it a gold watch. But I'm not going to bother doing that right now. I'm not going to mess with it. Pretty cool. I guess let's put it on the timegrapher, and let's see what we get. I have no idea what this is going to show us. Absolutely none. Could be garbage. Hang on just one second. See if it can hear. Looks like it's settled in a bit. Let's see what kind of numbers it gives us. Again, I'm at 50. Oh, God. Last night I was getting the 212s and 220s. I guess it ran in overnight, huh? Wow, this thing will be accurate as hell. That's crazy. That might have been because I was moving it, because these numbers are more... It should be extremely consistent, because it's not dealing with a spring unwinding with a variable power that those put out. This thing is going to be constant because the voltage is constant. It should be extremely steady in terms of amplitude. Yeah. Pretty exciting stuff, huh? Pretty exciting stuff. There it is. I don't know that I'll ever wear it. Some people have inquired about the watch, so maybe it'll go to a new home. I don't know, but it was fun building it. It was fun building it. I'll see if I can go through and maybe find some way to repair the coil or the circuit on this one, whichever one is bad, and maybe bring this one back to life too, because the dial on this one is really nice. It's beautiful. It's really nice. I'll flip this thing over and you can see the dial in the hands. So we take this out, we flip this over, and the balance goes in the big gap, just like that. Just like that, right there. There she blows. And the nice thing about this holder too is it's got special gaps in it, so you can get right to the dial screws. Isn't that nice? That's pretty. Look at that. Vertical brushing and everything, it's all there intact. If I had good replacement circuit and or coil, whichever one's bad. This one would be a runner too. Oh, interestingly, these are only single language. I don't know why they never did them dual language, but there's just a single language printed twice. So it's got basically 2 weeks of days underneath this thing. There's that, and it does not have a day quick set. It only has a date quick set. You have to run this thing forward, and then it changes the day. Pretty funky. All right, well, that's it. So, yeah, those numbers are still pretty consistent. Look at that, 266. I think I did a credible job on this one. And there she blows. All right, well, hey, thank you for staying up with me on this one. All right, bye.